All right, we are on. Hey, Devin Rose, Lionheart Catholic. Wanted to share with you just a little bit as I kind of start this channel up. Who am I? Where am I from? And what is this channel going to be about? So I grew up atheist, and I'm Gen X, so Generation X, with all the good and bad that entails. Had a conversion to Christianity in college after developing a social anxiety disorder. And by the way, we're going to be just walking through our permaculture orchard. More on permaculture in a little bit here. And then became Catholic. So shortly after that conversion to Christianity, I became Protestant, realized the Catholic Church was true, came to believe that, became Catholic. So I've been Catholic now about 20 years. And in that time, I've written some apologetics books, so defending the Catholic faith, especially trying to help Protestants become Catholic, like I did. Kind of share with them why I came to think that the Catholic Church was what it claimed to be. So you can check that out. Two of those books published by Catholic Answers. One's called Navigating the Tiber, the other one's called The Protestant's Dilemma. And then I've, through Lionheart Catholic, I've written a few books too. Currently there's 2 Lionheart Catholic books. One is on how to become a saint in these dark times. The other one's how to get prepared in these dark times. So career-wise, have been in a software engineer or in the tech world for the past 21 years, especially in Austin. But now I live elsewhere in Texas, out in East Texas. And, you know, what is this channel going to be about? Well, it's going to kind of reflect a lot of the stuff from the history that I shared with you. So I'll probably talk about some technical topics in terms of how they impact our Catholic faith. In the time I've been Catholic, I've started going to the traditional Latin Mass. And so I'll talk about the traditional Catholic faith, as I'll call it. And that will include the Latin Mass. I'm just a lay Catholic and just want to be a lay Catholic voice in what's increasingly a pretty crazy society, diabolical time that we're living in. So I'm not a theologian, I'm not a priest, I don't have a PhD. I'm just a Catholic husband and father out here. I'll also talk to you about everything related with personal liberty. So that involves for me homesteading, permaculture orchard, gardening, building up a strong community. In other words, things that you can do to get prepared for the times that we are living in, which I think are going to get tougher. So that'll even include economic things like Bitcoin, gold, land, animals. And a lot of times Catholics seem to steer away from all those topics. It's almost like we don't have a place at the table with many of these topics. And so a lot of the people that I follow, whether podcast or YouTube or whatnot, I like listening to them up to a point, but then they'll go off the rails somewhere because they're not Catholic, right? Some are atheists, some are, who knows what, New Age. Some maybe are Protestant Christian. But we need some Catholic voices in each of these areas, homesteading and Bitcoin, gold, with regard to, let's say, even in the Republican Party or in libertarians, in the anarcho-capitalists, we need to be represented so that we can, because we're following the truth of Jesus Christ, right? So not only can we have good ideas at the natural level and engage at that level, but we can also at the supernatural level bring in those truths. So we've got the royal flush hand, and yet we don't talk about things. And we're not even part of it. Matter of fact, a lot of Catholics are like, oh no, well, none of that matters. Only the spiritual matters. So politics doesn't matter. Government doesn't matter, really. Economics doesn't matter. Savings, Bitcoin, gold, all of that's... Matter of fact, you shouldn't buy Bitcoin and gold. I've had friends tell me, Bitcoin and gold, you shouldn't buy those. Or you shouldn't save in those. And I'm like, well, what should I save in? Should I save in Federal Reserve notes with the pyramid symbol on it and from the government? So why is it right to save in Federal Reserve notes and not save in gold, which God created, or Bitcoin, which has an algorithmic scarcity? So I see a lot in our Catholic communities. There's a lot of resistance to what, in my view, is very basic steps towards resilience, liberty, and a true sound foundation that for a Catholic society. So I'll talk about that. Maybe you agree with that. Maybe you disagree. That's fine. Let's discuss it. So it's a pretty big range of topics, but we're Catholic, right? The church is universal across geography, across the world, across time, and it also, our Catholic faith encompasses not just the spiritual aspects, but our entire lives, right? Or it should. So how do we, as well-formed, virtuous Catholics, bring the light of the truth of our faith to all of these aspects? That's kind of what I want to discuss. So we, especially since we live in such a time that's getting more and more diabolical. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, if you had said the kind of things that would be happening now, I would have laughed, said, you're crazy. You're crazy. There's not going to be that happening in schools or in the public square or on the computer and social media and the internet. And now it not only has it happened, but even crazier stuff's happened. It's like that initial crazy stuff was tip of the iceberg. Just like now what we're enduring is tip of the iceberg, I think, as to what we're going to face. So how do we get prepared for that? And how do we actually prepare for what's going to be an implosion of some kind, the end of an empire? And, getting prepared as best we can is prudent and wise to do. Now, if we all get nuked into oblivion, well, okay, we're dead. We meet our Lord. That's fine. It won't break my heart to say goodbye. Because heaven is better. And I'd rather be with our Lord. But, especially as a husband and father, I have a responsibility to be prepared as best I can to provide for my family. So that's what I'm going to do. If you don't want to do that, that's okay. You can do whatever you want. But I want to help you. I want to help you to get prepared. And that means, basic spiritual foundation. Going to Mass, the sacraments. I say Latin Mass if you can. If it's anywhere in your area. Praying the Rosary, doing mental prayer. Mental prayer is the second level of prayer for vocal prayer. And St. Alphonsus Liguori said, every saint became a saint through mental prayer. When was the last time you heard a homily on mental prayer? If you're like me, you've never heard a homily from your priest at your parish on mental prayer. So we as Catholics have obviously forgotten a lot of the truths of our faith that are out there, 100% out there, because God has revealed them. The church has taught them, but now it takes a little bit of digging to get to them because we've become so weakened, so dissipated by design, in part. So we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about things too, like our entire financial system is effectively run by scammers, crooks, and criminals. And yet we have to work really hard to earn the currency that they can then print and devalue and take from us, right? Well, how is that just? If you're all about justice as a Catholic and social justice, well, let me tell you, that's the whole foundation for a lack of justice. So why don't we do something about that? What can we do? Great. Let's talk about sound money. Let's talk about lowering our time preference and delayed gratification, right? With Bitcoin, with gold. Let's talk about growing in resilience and building communities together. So all this and more can be yours if the price is right. All of this we'll discuss. And I'm on several of the different video channels because you never know what'll trip the big technocratic guys. They're not your friend. They're not our friend. So I'm going to be on several platforms, including ones that value freedom. And I'll share about that too. How do you, as best you can, increase your privacy, your personal freedom, and keep from just giving away all of your data and information to people who hate you and who want to destroy our way of life, right? We certainly don't have to aid them. All right, so that's a little bit about me, a little bit about what we'll be talking about in this channel. If that's interesting to you, smash that like button, follow, subscribe. And I'm making an email list too, so I'll start putting links down to where you can sign up for the email list. It just will tell you more about Lionheart Catholic and what I'm about. God bless.